The unexpected arrival. The crystalline spires of the Galactic Academy pierced the lavender sky of Sen9, a testament to the advanced civilizations that had built this prestigious institution. For millennia, the brightest minds from across the known universe had converged here to study, innovate, and shape the future of countless worlds. The Academy prided itself on diversity, hosting students from over 1,000 different species. Yet, on this particular day, an arrival would challenge even their broad definition of inclusivity. Zara Matthews stood at the entrance, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The 18-year-old human girl from Earth clutched her acceptance letter, still unsure if it was real or some elaborate hoax. She had dreamed of the stars her whole life, devouring every scrap of information about alien cultures that had trickled down to Earth since first contact a decade ago. But never in her wildest dreams did she imagine she'd be standing here, about to become the first human to attend the Galactic Academy. As Zara took her first steps into the grand atrium, the cacophony of alien languages and thought pulses suddenly hushed. Hundreds of eyes, tentacles, and sensory organs turned to stare at the small pink creature that had just entered their midst. Zara felt her cheeks flush under the scrutiny, painfully aware of how different she looked from everyone else. "Excuse me," she said, her voice sounding small in the cavernous space. "I'm looking for the admissions office." A tall, willowy being with iridescent skin and no discernible face floated towards her. When it spoke, the words seemed to form directly in Zara's mind. "You appear to be lost, small mammal. The planetary zoo is located in the Epsilon Quadrant." Zara straightened her spine, summoning her courage. "I'm not lost, and I'm not an exhibit. I'm Zara Matthews, the new student from Earth." A ripple of surprise and disbelief spread through the atrium. Whispers and mental murmurs filled the air. A human. Here. Impossible. They're barely out of their gravity well. This must be some kind of mistake. The willowy being regarded Zara for a long moment before responding. "I see. Follow me, Earthchild. We shall verify your claim." As Zara followed the alien through winding corridors of impossible geometry, she couldn't help but marvel at her surroundings. Holographic displays showcased scientific marvels beyond her comprehension. Students of all shapes and sizes hurried past, some flying, others slithering, a few seemingly phasing in and out of reality itself. They arrived at a door that seemed to be made of living metal, constantly shifting and reforming. It melted away at their approach, revealing an office that defied Euclidean space. Seated behind a desk that curved in ways that hurt Zara's eyes to look at was a being that appeared to be made entirely of swirling galaxies. Archdean Zexel. The willowy being addressed the galaxy entity. "We have an unexpected applicant." The Archdean's voice was like the hum of the cosmos itself. "Ah, yes. The human. We've been expecting you, Zara Matthews." Zara blinked in surprise. "You have? Indeed. Your application was most unusual. But the Academy prides itself on recognizing potential, wherever it may be found, even on a world as quaint as Earth." The willowy being interjected, its mental voice tinged with concern. "But Archdean, surely you can't be serious about admitting a human. They have no psychic abilities, no understanding of hyperdimensional mathematics, not even basic telekinesis." Zara felt her heart sink. Maybe this had been a mistake. Maybe she didn't belong here after all. The Archdean's swirling form seemed to focus on Zara. "Tell me, young human, why do you wish to study at the Galactic Academy?" Zara took a deep breath, remembering all the nights she spent stargazing, dreaming of this moment. "Because I believe that humanity has something to offer the galaxy. We may not have psychic powers or advanced technology, but we have creativity, determination, and a unique perspective. I want to learn from the best minds in the universe, and maybe show them that humans aren't as primitive as they think." There was a long silence. Then, to Zara's amazement, The Archdean's form rippled in what she somehow knew was laughter. "Well said, Zora Matthews of Earth. Your species may yet surprise us all. Welcome to the Galactic Academy." And with those words, Zora's impossible journey truly began. As she was led to her quarters, a room that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once, she knew that the hardest part was yet to come. She would have to prove herself, not just academically, but as a representative of her entire species. The next few days were a whirlwind of orientation activities, each more mind-bending than the last. Zora struggled to keep up with the basics of neutron star navigation and quantum entanglement communication. Her classmates, while no longer openly hostile, remained distant and skeptical. It wasn't until her first practical xenobiology class that Zora found a glimmer of hope. As the instructor, a gelatinous cube named Professor Blorp, demonstrated the proper way to analyze the genetic structure of a silicon-based life form, Zora noticed something odd. "Excuse me, Professor," she said, raising her hand. "But wouldn't the silicon bonds be more stable if we adjusted the electron flow like this?" She sketched out a quick diagram on her holopad. The class fell silent. Professor Blorp oozed over to examine Zora's work, its body changing colors rapidly. "Fascinating," it burbled. "A completely novel approach, using principles analogous to your Earth's organic chemistry. Class, observe. This is why we embrace diversity in scientific thought." For the first time since her arrival, Zora felt a spark of pride. Maybe, just maybe, she did have something to offer after all. As the first week drew to a close, Zora sat alone in the Academy's vast arboretum, surrounded by plants from 1,000 worlds. She missed Earth, missed the simple comfort of a blue sky and familiar constellations. But as she looked up at the alien stars, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. She may be the first human at the Galactic Academy, but she was determined not to be the last. Zora Matthews had a lot to learn, but she also had a lot to teach, and somewhere in that exchange of knowledge, she hoped to find her place among the stars. Cultural clashes and connections. As the novelty of Zora's arrival wore off, the real challenges of being the only human at the Galactic Academy began to surface. The initial curiosity of her alien classmates had faded, replaced by a mixture of indifference and thinly veiled disdain. In her quantum mechanics class, Zora struggled to keep up with concepts that her peers seemed to grasp intuitively. Professor Quark, a being composed entirely of pulsating energy, had little patience for her questions. "Miss Matthews," the professor's voice crackled with irritation, "perhaps you'd be more comfortable in a remedial class. One that doesn't require, let's say, 11-dimensional thinking." Snickers rippled through the classroom. Zora felt her face burn with embarrassment, but she refused to back down. "With all due respect, Professor, I'm here to learn. I may not think in 11 dimensions yet, but I'm not giving up." As she left the class, Zora overheard a group of her classmates talking. "Humans," one of them said, a tall insectoid creature named Zixtal. "They're so limited. Why do we even bother with them?" Zora was about to walk away when another voice chimed in. "That's not fair, Zixtal. They may be young as a species, but they've achieved remarkable things in a short time." Surprised, Zora turned to see who had defended her. It was Lirael, a bioluminescent humanoid from the aquatic world of Naya. Lirael smiled at Zora, her skin pulsing with gentle blue light. "Don't mind Zixtal. Some people fear what they don't understand." It was the beginning of an unlikely friendship. Lirael introduced Zora to her study group, which included Garrix, a rock-like Petrosipian with a dry sense of humor, and Ecto, a gaseous being who communicated through complex scent patterns. For the first time since arriving at the Academy, Zora felt a sense of belonging. Her new friends were curious about Earth and human culture, peppering her with questions about everything from music to food to mating rituals. But just as Zora was starting to find her footing, a cultural misunderstanding threatened to undo all her progress. It happened during the Academy's annual Cosmic Harmony Festival. Students from all corners of the galaxy showcased their cultural traditions, and Zara was excited to represent Earth. She had prepared a presentation on human music, complete with recordings of everything from classical symphonies to rock and roll. As Zara's turn approached, she felt a mix of nervousness and pride. This was her chance to show that humans had something valuable to contribute to galactic culture. She began her presentation, explaining the diverse musical traditions of Earth. But when she played a recording of a powerful operatic aria, chaos erupted. Several crystalline beings in the audience began to vibrate violently, their structures threatening to shatter. Others fell to the ground, writhing in what seemed to be agony. Zara frantically shut off the music, but the damage was done. "What kind of attack is this?" shouted an administrator, his tentacles flailing in distress. "It's not an attack," Zara tried to explain, her voice rising in panic. "It's just music." But her protests fell on deaf ears, or whatever passed for ears among the varied species present. Security drones surrounded Zora, their force fields humming ominously. It was Lyrael who came to her rescue, stepping between Zora and the drones. "Wait," she called out. "This is a misunderstanding. Some species perceive sound differently. What's harmonious to humans might be painful to others." Garrix joined in, his gravelly voice resonating through the hall. "She's right. I studied Earth culture. Their music is a form of art, not a weapon." Slowly, the tension in the room began to dissipate. The security drones backed off, and the affected beings were tended to by medical staff. Archdean Zixel materialized in the center of the hall, his galactic form swirling with concern. "Miss Matthews, while we appreciate your intent to share your culture, this incident highlights the dangers of assumptions in our diverse community. Perhaps a more controlled presentation would be advisable in the future." Zara nodded, fighting back tears of frustration and embarrassment. She had wanted so badly to make a good impression, to show that humans belonged here. Instead, she had caused pain and chaos. As the crowd dispersed, Zara slumped against a wall, feeling more alone than ever. But then she felt a gentle touch on her shoulder. It was Ecto, the gaseous being, releasing a scent that somehow conveyed comfort and understanding. "Don't give up," came Lyrael's voice, her skin pulsing with soothing patterns of light. "This is why you're here, to help us understand each other better." Garrix rumbled in agreement. Besides, any culture that can create something powerful enough to shake crystalline beings is worth learning more about. Their words gave Zara an idea. Over the next few weeks, she threw herself into a new project. Working with her friends and a team of xenomusicologists, Zora developed a system to translate human music into forms that could be appreciated by different species. For crystalline beings, she converted melodies into intricate light patterns. For gaseous species like Ecto, she transformed rhythms into complex synth sequences. She even found a way to render Earth's greatest symphonies as gravitational wave patterns for energy beings. When the Academy held a make-up cultural showcase, Zara was ready. This time, as she presented Earth's musical traditions, there were no cries of pain or panic. Instead, the hall filled with the equivalent of gasps and murmurs of appreciation from 100 different species. Beings who had never understood the appeal of human culture before were suddenly swaying to the beat of jazz, or pulsating with the emotion of a Beethoven symphony. As the showcase ended, Zara found herself surrounded by curious classmates, all eager to learn more about human music and culture. Even Zixel, the insectoid who had dismissed humans as limited, approached her. "I may have been hasty in my judgment," Zixel chittered, mandibles clicking, and what Zora had learned was a sign of embarrassment. "Your species' ability to adapt and bridge cultural divides is impressive." Zara smiled, feeling a warmth of pride and belonging. "Thank you," she said, "but I couldn't have done it without help. That's one thing humans have learned. We're stronger when we work together and learn from each other." As she looked around at her diverse group of friends and newfound admirers, Zara realized she had done more than just share human culture. She had taken a small but significant step towards proving that humanity had a place among the stars. The path ahead was still long and challenging, but for the first time since arriving at the Galactic Academy, Zara felt truly hopeful about the future, both her own and that of human-alien relations. Academic challenges. As the academic year progressed, Zara found herself facing increasingly complex challenges. The curriculum at the Galactic Academy was designed to push the boundaries of knowledge across multiple dimensions, and Zara often felt like she was trying to swim in an ocean of concepts beyond her comprehension. In her advanced xenophysics class, Professor Vorlax, a being of pure energy contained within a humanoid force field, was lecturing on the intricacies of manipulating dark matter for faster-than-light travel. Zara's head spun as she tried to keep up with the multidimensional equations floating in the air. And so, Professor Vorlax's voice resonated. By inverting the quantum flux of the dark matter stream, we can create a stable wormhole capable of traversing galactic distances in mere moments. Any questions? The class remained silent, most students nodding in understanding. Zara hesitated, then slowly raised her hand. Yes, Miss Matthews. Professor Vorlax's tone carried a hint of exasperation. I'm sorry, Professor, but I'm having trouble visualizing how the dark matter stream interacts with normal spacetime. Is there perhaps a simpler way to explain it? A few of her classmates snickered. Professor Vorlax's energy form flickered in what Zara had come to recognize as frustration. Miss Matthews, this is graduate-level xenophysics. If you cannot grasp these basic concepts, perhaps you should reconsider your place in this class. Zara felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment, but she refused to back down. With all due respect, Professor, I'm not asking for the concept to be dumbed down. I'm asking for a different perspective. On Earth, we often use analogies or models to understand complex ideas. Maybe there's a way to represent this process that doesn't rely on 11-dimensional math. The professor paused, his energy form swirling thoughtfully. An interesting suggestion. Very well. Let's explore this approach. Class, your assignment for next week is to develop an analogy or model that explains dark matter manipulation to a less advanced species. Miss Matthews, since this was your idea, I expect your submission to be particularly illuminating. As the class dispersed, Zara felt a mix of relief and anxiety. She had stood her ground, but now she had to deliver on her promise. Over the next week, Zara threw herself into the assignment. She spent hours in the Academy's vast library, poring over texts on dark matter physics and studying how different species perceived and explained complex phenomena. It was during one of these late-night study sessions that she had a breakthrough. Staring at a holographic representation of dark matter flows, Zara was reminded of the currents in Earth's oceans. She began to sketch out an idea, her mind racing with possibilities. When the day of the presentation arrived, Zara felt a nervous excitement. One by one, her classmates presented their analogies. Some were impressive, using complex holographic displays or psychic projections. Others fell flat, too abstract or too simplified to capture the essence of dark matter manipulation. Finally, it was Zara's turn. She took a deep breath and activated her presentation. A three-dimensional model of an ocean appeared in the center of the classroom. Glowing particles represented dark matter, flowing in complex currents throughout the water. Imagine our universe as a vast ocean, Zara began. Normal matter is like the water, visible and easy to interact with. Dark matter is like the currents flowing through this ocean, invisible but profoundly influencing everything around it. She manipulated the model, showing how changes in the dark matter currents could create eddies and whirlpools in the fabric of spacetime. By learning to swim with these currents, or even influence them, we can navigate the universe in ways that seem to defy traditional physics. Creating a wormhole is like temporarily redirecting a powerful current to connect two distant points in the ocean. As Zara continued her explanation, she noticed the class leaning in, their eyes, or equivalent sensory organs, fixed on the model. Even Professor Vorlax's energy form, pulsed with what seemed to be interest. When she finished, there was a moment of silence. Then, to Zora's surprise, tentacles, appendages, and energy tendrils began to wave in the air, the Galactic Academy's equivalent of applause. Professor Vorlax floated towards Zora, his voice carrying a note of approval. "Most impressive, Miss Matthews. Your model, while simplified, captures the essence of dark matter manipulation in a way that beings from many different backgrounds can understand. This is precisely the kind of interdisciplinary thinking we strive for at the Academy." Zara beamed with pride. For the first time, she felt like she had truly contributed something valuable to her class. As the students filed out, many of them approached Zora to compliment her presentation. Even Zixtal, who had been one of her harshest critics, chittered appreciatively. "Your ocean analogy helped me visualize the process in a new way," Zixtal admitted. "Perhaps there is value in the human perspective after all." Zara's success in the xenophysics class marked a turning point in her academic journey. She began to approach other subjects with renewed confidence, looking for ways to bridge the gap between human understanding and advanced alien concepts. In her biotechnology class, she drew parallels between alien genetic manipulation techniques and Earth's emerging CRISPR technology. In her study of psychic phenomena, she related the concept of telepathic fields to the human ideas of collective unconscious and empathy. Slowly but surely, Zara was carving out a niche for herself at the Galactic Academy. Her unique perspective as a human often led to innovative approaches to problems, earning her the respect of both classmates and professors. But even as Zara's academic star rose, she couldn't shake the feeling that a greater challenge lay ahead. The universe was vast and full of wonders, but also dangers. And as the first human to study at this level, Zara knew that she carried the hopes and expectations of her entire species on her shoulders. Little did she know that soon, those expectations would be put to the ultimate test as a crisis loomed on the horizon, one that would challenge not just Zara, but the entire Galactic Academy, and force them all to reconsider their place in the cosmos. The Galactic Crisis. The warning sirens echoed through the crystalline halls of the Galactic Academy, their otherworldly wail sending a chill down Zora's spine. She rushed to the central atrium along with thousands of other students, their diverse forms creating a living tapestry of galactic life. Archdean Zexel's swirling galactic form materialized above the crowd, his voice resonating with urgency. "Students and faculty, we face a grave threat. A quantum anomaly has been detected in the nearby Cygnus X1 black hole. Its expansion threatens not just our academy, but entire star systems in this sector." Holographic displays flickered to life, showing the rapidly growing anomaly. Even to Zara's untrained eye, it looked ominous. A roiling mass of fractured space-time, spreading like a cancer through the cosmos. "Our top scientists are working on a solution," Zixel continued, "but time is of the essence. We call upon all of you to contribute your knowledge and skills to this crisis." As the crowd dispersed into emergency research teams, Zara felt a wave of helplessness wash over her. What could she, a mere human, possibly contribute to solving a crisis of this magnitude? Her friends found her amidst the chaos. Lorel's bioluminescent skin pulsed with concern, while Garrix's rocky features were set in grim determination. Ecto wafted nearby, exuding a scent of anxious determination. "Come on," Lorel said, gently tugging Zora's arm. "We've been assigned to the theoretical physics team. They need all perspectives right now." In the vast quantum computation lab, beings from across the galaxy worked feverishly. Holographic models of the anomaly hovered in the air, constantly updating with new data. Zara watched in awe as her classmates manipulated complex equations with thought alone, their advanced minds grappling with concepts that pushed the boundaries of known physics. Hours passed, and despite the combined intellect of the galaxy's brightest minds, a solution remained elusive. The anomaly continued to grow, its tendrils of warped space-time creeping ever closer to inhabited systems. Zara sat in a corner, feeling utterly out of her depth. She had been trying to assist where she could, but the advanced mathematics and multidimensional physics were beyond her comprehension. As she watched her friends and classmates work tirelessly, a familiar feeling of inadequacy crept in. But then, as she stared at the swirling model of the anomaly, something clicked in her mind. The pattern of its expansion reminded her of something she had seen before, not in her advanced classes, but in the history of her own planet. "Wait a minute," Zara muttered, her eyes widening with realization. She rushed to one of the central computer terminals, her fingers flying over the holographic interface. "What are you doing?" L'Oreal asked, floating over to her. I might have an idea," Zara said, her voice trembling with a mix of E. "It's an interesting analogy," mused Dr. Clifax, a multi-limbed physicist. "But how would we practically apply it?" Zara took a deep breath. "Well, in dealing with diseases, we often use the body's own immune system to fight back. What if we could use the natural properties of space-time to contain or counteract the anomaly?" The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Zara's idea sparked a new avenue of research, combining principles from biology, Earth history, and advanced physics in ways never before considered. Teams were formed, with experts in cosmic string theory working alongside specialists in membranes and quantum foam dynamics. Zara found herself at the center of it all, her unique human perspective serving as a bridge between wildly different scientific disciplines. Her ability to draw unconventional parallels and think outside the established paradigms of galactic science proved invaluable. As the teams worked tirelessly, a plan began to take shape. Using a combination of controlled dark matter injections and precisely calibrated gravity waves, they would attempt to create a self-reinforcing bubble of stable spacetime around the anomaly, a cosmic quarantine. The plan was risky, untested, and based on a synthesis of ideas that many would have dismissed as crazy just days ago. But as the anomaly continued to expand, threatening millions of lives, they had run out of conventional options. Archdean Zexel called an emergency assembly to present the plan to the entire academy. As Zara stood on the stage alongside the galaxy's most brilliant scientific minds, she felt a profound sense of responsibility. This plan, born from her human insight, could either save countless lives or fail catastrophically. "We cannot guarantee success," Zexel's cosmic voice resonated through the hall. "But thanks to the innovative thinking of beings from across our galaxy, including our own Zora Matthews of Earth, we now have hope." As the assembly concluded and final preparations began, Zora's friends gathered around her. L'Oreal enveloped her in a bioluminescent hug, while Garrix placed a comforting rocky hand on her shoulder. Ecto swirled around them, emitting a scent of pride and camaraderie. "Whatever happens," L'Oreal said, her voice soft but determined, "you've already changed the galaxy, Zora. You've shown us the value of new perspectives, of thinking beyond our established boundaries." Zara nodded, her throat tight with emotion. As alarms blared and the Academy mobilized for its greatest challenge yet, she steeled herself for what was to come. Win or lose, the humans had made their mark on galactic history, and Zora Matthews, the girl who once gazed at the stars from a small planet called Earth, was at the heart of it all. A new understanding. The tension in the Academy's central control room was palpable as final preparations for implementing Zora's plan were underway. Beings of all species worked in perfect harmony, their differences set aside in the face of a common threat. Zara stood at a console, her heart racing, as she watched the holographic display of the expanding anomaly. "All systems are ready," announced Professor Vorlax, his energy form pulsating with anticipation. "Miss Matthews, since this plan originated from your insight, would you like to do the honors?" Zara took a deep breath, looking around at the expectant faces of her peers and mentors. This was it, the moment that would define not just her time at the Academy, but potentially the fate of entire civilizations. With a nod, she placed her hand on the activation panel. "Initiating space-time quarantine procedure," she said, her voice steady despite her nerves. The room erupted into a flurry of activity as the plan was set in motion. Massive energy beams lanced out from the Academy and surrounding space stations, precisely targeting the edges of the anomaly. Dark matter injectors pulsed, creating a web of stable space-time around the roiling quantum disturbance. For several tense minutes, nothing seemed to change. The anomaly continued to grow, pushing against the boundaries they were trying to establish. Zara felt her hope begin to fade, doubt creeping in. Had she doomed them all with her outlandish idea? But then, almost imperceptibly at first, the anomaly's expansion began to slow. The edges of the disturbance started to stabilize, contained within the artificial bubble of reinforced spacetime. "It's working," exclaimed Dr. Clefax, his multiple limbs gesticulating excitedly. "The quarantine is holding." A cheer went up around the room, beings of all species celebrating in their unique ways. Lurael's skin flashed in brilliant patterns of joy, while Garrix's rocky form vibrated in a subsonic expression of relief. Ecto released a cloud of euphoric pheromones that had several nearby gaseous beings swaying in delight. But Zara knew their work wasn't done yet. "We still need to find a way to neutralize the anomaly," she reminded everyone. "The quarantine buys us time, but it's not a permanent solution." Archdean Zixel's cosmic form swirled in agreement. "Indeed, Miss Matthews. But thanks to your innovative thinking, we now have that time. And I believe you've shown us all the value of approaching problems from new angles." Over the next few weeks, research teams worked tirelessly to develop a method to safely dissipate the contained anomaly. Zara's initial idea continued to bear fruit as scientists combined principles from biology, earth sciences, and advanced physics in ways never before imagined. Finally, after days of simulations and careful calculations, they were ready to attempt to heal the wounded spacetime. Using a precisely modulated beam of tachyons, particles that moved backwards in time, they stimulated the anomaly's own quantum structure to begin repairing itself. As the galaxy watched with bated breath, the swirling mass of fractured spacetime slowly began to shrink. Hour by hour, the anomaly collapsed in on itself, until finally, with a flash of light that momentarily outshone the nearby stars, it winked out of existence. The celebration that followed was unlike anything the Galactic Academy had ever seen. Species that had once viewed each other with suspicion or disdain now embraced as comrades who had faced down an existential threat together. And at the center of it all was Zora, the human girl whose unique perspective had changed everything. In the aftermath of the crisis, the Academy underwent a profound transformation. The curriculum was revamped to encourage interdisciplinary thinking and to value insights from all cultures, no matter how technologically advanced. A new department was established, dedicated to studying emergent civilizations like humanity, recognizing that young species often had valuable contributions to make. Zara found herself in high demand, giving lectures on human history and culture to eager audiences of alien students and faculty. She worked with the Academy's Xenolinguistics department to develop better translation tools, bridging the communication gap between humans and other species. As her final year at the Academy drew to a close, Zora was summoned to Archdean Zixel's office. The cosmic being's form seemed to shine even brighter than usual as he addressed her. "Zara Matthews." His voice resonated with warmth. "When you first arrived here, many doubted whether a human could succeed at our institution. You have not only succeeded but excelled beyond our wildest expectations. Your contributions during the anomaly crisis have ushered in a new era of galactic cooperation and scientific advancement." Zara felt a lump in her throat, overwhelmed by the journey that had brought her to this moment. Zixel continued, "We would like to offer you a permanent position here at the Academy, as our first professor of human studies and interdisciplinary sciences. Moreover, we wish to extend an invitation to more human students to join our ranks." Tears of joy welled in Zara's eyes as she accepted the offer. As she left the office, she found her friends waiting for her: Lurael, Garrix, Ecto, and even Zixel, who had become one of her staunchest supporters. "We heard the news," Lurael said, her skin pulsing with patterns of happiness. "You've opened the door for your entire species, Zara." Garrix rumbled in agreement. "And you've taught us all the value of looking at the universe with new eyes." As they walked through the Academy's halls, Zara reflected on how far she had come. From a girl gazing at the stars from Earth to a pioneer bridging the gap between humanity and advanced alien civilizations. The path hadn't been easy, but every challenge had been worth it. In the atrium, a new group of students had just arrived for orientation. Among them, Zara spotted a few nervous-looking humans, their eyes wide with wonder as they took in their alien surroundings. With a warm smile, Zara approached them. "Welcome to the Galactic Academy," she said. "Trust me, you're in for an amazing journey." As she began to guide the new human students, sharing her experiences and offering encouragement, Zara knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had taken its first real steps into the galactic community, and the universe would never be the same. The stars that had once seemed so distant now felt like home, and Zara Matthews, once an outsider, had become a bridge between worlds. As she looked out at the vast, star-studded sky visible through the Academy's crystal dome, she felt a sense of limitless possibility. The future was bright, and humanity's adventure among the stars was only just beginning.